Well guys, the trip is finally over. I have been back in Austin, Texas for about 2 weeks now. And I finally adjusted back to normal life. And I just wanted to go over our entire trip recap. Where I went, how I felt, what were the highlights, what were the lowlights. And just how was it living in a van for 7 months. So guys, I left May 1st. I left from Austin, Texas. And I went to Florida first. The entire first month was mostly Florida and like some other southern states. I left in May because I wanted to finish in California in the colder months. I forgot how hot it would be in Florida. So like the first 2 weeks at least were like 80 degrees at night. And my sister came with me too for the first 2 weeks. It's like training wheels. And we had the fan going like at 100%. I had a USB fan blowing as fast as it could. And I was just sitting there sweating for like 2 weeks straight. Especially I got to Key West. That was like the first major national park. Dry Tortugas. We drove my big ass van down Key West, tiny roads, found a gravel parking lot behind like the busiest street in Key West, and parked there, and just all night just sat there sweating. And you hear the people, because they're on vacation, they're having fun, partying all night. I'm trying to go to bed early so I can get up at like 4 in the morning to get onto the wait list for the national park. Turns out, if you did the wait list, you weren't allowed to camp there overnight. And I was not going to go to this island and pay like $300 if I couldn't camp there. So I had to skip that park. I was heartbroken. But regardless, Key West is beautiful. It was fun to go with my sister too. We had such a fun time exploring Florida. We saw family, we saw friends, and we just hung out at beaches. So through Florida, it didn't feel like van life yet. It felt like I was just on a road trip with my sister, going to beaches and stuff. And so it was. I think it was a nice introduction. It was kind of like easy into it. After that, well, there were 2 parks there. I did Everglades. I did Biscayne. Not like the most glamorous national parks. Everglades is very cool. You see just how big the Everglades is. We got an airboat and just cruised for miles and miles and miles, going like 30, 40 miles an hour. And it was just cool to see like this remote land that normally is hard to get to. And alligators everywhere. That was very cool too. Biscayne, no campsites there. Again, I remember when I got there, it didn't really feel like a national park. I was kind of like uneasy. I was like, I wanted to camp here in my van and go to this park in the morning. So we had to stay in an RV park outside of it. It had a basketball hoop, so it wasn't the worst thing. But again, it didn't really feel like van life. My sister left. My friend Gabby came in town, and we did the historical places. So we did like the oldest city in America, which was somewhere in Florida. We did the biggest town in Georgia, or Savannah. Yeah, we did Savannah. We did Charleston. So we did a bunch of historic things, which it was cool because like I know the East Coast is more historical based, but it wasn't really the whole van life experience I was hoping for. It was more just like a history lesson. Also, like the beaches were so tempting, but you get so sandy when you're in a van. It's impossible to clean everything. So it was always like a bittersweet moment going in the ocean because it was so fun. And then I came back and I was always sandy and salty. I had to come back in my van and make sure I was completely clean. I never was. We did together. We got to go to Hilton Head and stuff. And so we went to go to Asheville, North Carolina. So we saw very beautiful places and I had a good time. But it still didn't feel like van life yet. We even saw one national park in South Carolina of, God, what's it called? Congaree National Park. Just a swamp, a small national park. Again, it was made a national park to preserve an ecosystem there, the swampy forest. Not so much for beauty. So even still, I think I was like, this was probably like 3-4 weeks into it. It didn't really feel like van life yet. It felt like I was just kind of on a road trip. I dropped Gabby off, and then I went to the Smoky Mountains, and my jaw dropped. I was finally on my own. I was in a grand national park. I lost signal immediately, and I was just on my own. And I felt so happy. I started walking around my campsite. I talked to everyone, met some fun people, made dinner, journaled, listened to music. It was very relaxing. Next day, got up early, went for a huge hike by myself. Smoky Mountains. I didn't know the East Coast had beautiful mountains like that, so I was very shocked by that. Rolling hills that turned into mountains, clouds rolling over them too constantly. Perfect weather while I was there. I did get rained on midway through a hike and I had to sprint down like 3 miles in the rain because I had my camera with me. A little stressful, but part of the experience. Then I remember, oh, a great story. Met two girls who were on vacation as well in Smoky Mountains. Turns out we were both going to Nashville together. So once I went on my own, I met two people. We were going to the same place together. We ended up partying in Nashville together. So I got to experience a new city with new people doing new things. It felt like such a nomadic experience, and I was like, oh my god, this is what I wanted when I left on this trip. So that was an amazing time for me. After that, I just cut across back to the East Coast, went all the way up, saw some friends in New Jersey, saw Shenandoah National Park, cut all the way up to, or New York was fun. I had to park outside New York in some just pavement RV park. It was like $130 a night. It was ridiculous. But I took the train to the city and got to explore the city. Got lost in Central Park, played way too much basketball. I just had a fun time exploring it. But still, it felt weird being there because it didn't really feel like van life. So I felt out of place. I wish I would have saw New York when I was not in a van. So then I saw Boston, saw Plymouth Rock, saw Salem, Massachusetts, all these historically amazing places. But I couldn't help myself but think, I'm happy I'm here, but I want to be back in nature. That was my entire thought on the East Coast. This is so beautiful, this is so neat, I'm learning so much, but I want to get back to nature. And then I finally hit Maine, and Maine was like, wow, this is what I was waiting for again. Even the coastal towns were cute little like harbor towns. They were so beautiful. Everything I used to see in movies. Spent a couple nights there in Portland, Maine. Went up to Acadia National Park. So beautiful, guys. Unfortunately, I had a rolled ankle, so I was suffering through every single hike. But still, so beautiful. Unfortunately, very crowded too. But I mean, the park has rugged coastlines. It has beaches. Has some mountains to climb. Has a restaurant, like an old historic hotel / restaurant. So it's just like a cool historical thing to do. Just had a great time there. And again, I felt like I was back in nature, so I was happy again. Cut across through upstate New York, saw some old distant cousins, saw New Hampshire, Vermont, these places I never thought I'd see in my entire life. I got to explore now, and I was on my own. Everyone I met was new, everything I ate was new, everywhere I went was new. And I was like, every day I had like a new experience. Then I got to Cleveland. I went to the one national park they have there. Had a good time. It was more like a state park than a huge national park, and I knew that going into it. And then I had a nice big chunk of a halfway point in Chicago. I stayed there for about like 4 weeks. Celebrated my 26th birthday, my golden birthday there. Saw a whole bunch of family, people I hadn't seen in like 3-4 months, and starting a great halfway point. But I couldn't wait to get back in van life because I knew what was coming up was the West Coast. So after Chicago, I left, went north to Minnesota, saw some old family and friends again, spent a couple days there, went up, took my brother up to Isle Royale National Park. It's at the top of, technically it's at the top of Wisconsin, but in the UP, because somehow Michigan owns a chunk of Wisconsin. And that was my first experience of a Great Lake. You know, as a kid I was in Chicago, I would go to the city, hop in Lake Michigan, hop out. I never fully explored it or knew how big they were. And then for this park, you go to the top of the UP, and Lake Superior is the biggest one, so you take a 3.5-hour ferry ride across this lake, and the entire time you're like, where am I? Is this a lake or is this an ocean? I could not fathom how big it was. They're on the boat, they were telling me in the winter sometimes they get like 30-foot swells. There's a bunch of shipwrecks that always happen here. I was shocked that a lake could possibly be this big. Huge eye-opening experience to me. The park was so isolated. We just did an overnight backpacking trip. Just went like a nice 25 miles. Very beautiful, very remote. Didn't see a whole lot of wildlife, unfortunately. Saw a dead moose. Wanted to see some wolves and moose. But small island, I guess the animals nowhere to hide from people. After that, went to Minnesota. Went to Minneapolis. Very beautiful city. Got to see it for the first time. Again, places I never thought I'd see. And I was finally getting to see them for the first time. I knew people through some of these cities, so I got to explore it with people I knew. Sometimes it would be on my own. I was okay with either or. Then I had a rough stretch. I had to go to the Dakotas. North and south, I had 3 parks to see there. Just wide open land. I mean, I got to go through Fargo, North Dakota, so that was cool to see because of the movie I used to watch as a kid. Just not a lot happening up there. And I was like, South Dakota, the drive through it is just endless. It's just like Texas is flat, and I'm used to that. This is just endless flat grasslands with a couple rolling hills here and there, but you could see for miles. 3 parks there. It was Theodore Roosevelt in North Dakota. It was okay. I got to see wild horses for the first time, so that was exciting. I got to go to Wind Cave. It was a fun time, you know. After going to Carlsbad Cave in New Mexico, I feel like I've seen the biggest cave, so that's what I always compare my caves to. And then the Badlands. Badlands was a very unique place. I had perfect weather. I was out there. Perfect campsite too. So great time. But the hiking area is definitely, there's definitely one place to hike, and the rest of the park is kind of just like, if you want, you can go there. But there's like definitely one section of the park that people go to. That's where you do like all the free climbing. And then after this, I was excited. Now it was all West Coast stuff. I went to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. This is a place I've always seen in pictures, on Pinterest. I always saw Devil's Tower, the place you have to go. Never thought I'd go there in my life. It's such like an isolated part of Wyoming, like the upright. Never thought I'd go there. I stayed in the next KOA campground, beautiful spot. Did some laundry. My van doors opened up to Devil's Tower at night. It was so beautiful, guys. Devil's Tower, I got in for free because of my park pass. Nice little day hike there. Probably like a half-hour hike around the thing, and you get to scramble up Devil's Tower. So like, at the base of it, a bunch of rocks shattered, and you just get to scramble. I had a great time just playing around there. Then at night, at the KOA campground, every night they play Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because that Devil's Tower was shown in it. I've actually never seen that movie in my life before somehow, so I got to sit down and watch that. Again, it's a very cool experience too. I had a great time, did laundry, got to relax and stuff. Then I went to the Tetons. Tetons was a highlight on this trip. I was excited for it. It's one of the best national parks ever because of how grand it is. Unfortunately, you need to plan for this stuff because I wanted to backpack there, and all the good backpacking trails were taken right away. I was a little bummed. I showed up the same day. I said, hey, I need a backpacking trail. What's left? And so I had to go on the west side of the park, or south side of the park. And so I was able to go. So I went. I hiked 18 miles in that day and camped. Because it was like a big loop, so I could do 5 miles one day and 18 next, or 18 one day and 5 miles next. So I did 18. Suffered through it. Spent the night there. Woke up at like 40 degrees. It was so cold. I remember being so uncomfortable in the morning. Oh. And when you're backpacking, peeing in the middle of the night, in the middle of the woods alone, is the most terrifying thing. Because you can't see anything. You can't really hear. You don't know what's going on. You think everything's a bear around you. It's just a horrifying experience. But it's very cool, too. After that, I wanted to do more hikes in Tetons. I got back, there was a bear sighting, and so the only road to go back to the visitor center was closed, so I had to take an hour-and-a-half detour to come back to the park. When I got back, every parking lot was taken. Legit, every single parking lot was taken. So I said, hey, I want to hike here. Where can I go? He said, oh, you go 5 miles up to this other hike here. It's equally as beautiful. You'll be fine. Went there. Every site was taken. Every parking spot. I was so upset. I said, you know what? I'm done with this place. I'm leaving. So I went to Yellowstone. I've been to Yellowstone before. I stopped at the geyser. Oh, what's it called? The geyser, and it was so packed. Oh my god. And then I tried going to a hiking spot, and there was construction, and there was a line of cars, and I was sitting there like so upset. Like, I came to national parks to get away from people, not to be stuck by them. And so I just left that place too, because I've already been there before. Then I went to Glacier. Glacier is beautiful, guys. Well, first, before I stopped in Bozeman, Montana. Very cool college town. I never thought I'd go there in my life. I spent like a day and a half there exploring the town. Had a great time there. Then I went to Glacier. This was a park I was scared of because I knew how popular it was, and I thought if I didn't get a reservation, because this park required them, that I would not be able to enjoy it. Then I parked outside the park. I got there like 11, 12 p.m. one day. And I talked to some locals there, and they said, yeah, actually you can kind of just walk into the park like 2 miles from here, and you go to like the main lake there. I was like, oh my god. So I hiked in, because I wasn't planning on doing like a lot this day because I didn't have a reservation. I hiked in, and I just spent like 4 or 5 hours at this lake. I laid down, I napped, I swam, I tanned, I got dinner there in the park. It's like a whole mini town there. And I was like, oh my god, I got this free experience. I thought I was gonna be so stressed. So once I got there, like, my worries melted away. Had a great first day. Woke up at like 5 a.m. the next day. Drove into the park to get in before passes were required, and did like a huge 18-mile hike. Oh my god, it kicked my ass. Almost saw a grizzly bear. I was pissed. I went to this overlook instead of going to the glacier overlook because I was going to do both of them. And a grizzly bear walked within 20 feet of this group of like 15 people on the glacier overlook. I was so upset. It would have been so cool to see. Glacier was perfect, guys. It was a great place. I can see why it's one of the most highly ranked national parks. Everywhere you look is a glacier. I got to swim in my first glacier too. Freezing, most easily the coldest water of my life. Uncomfortable experience. I remember jumping in and landing right in a rock because the water is so murky you can't really see it because it's like so crystallized blue. Then I passed through Idaho. I wish I saw more of Idaho. I only cut through the top of it. Went to Washington. My God, guys, Washington is beautiful. It reminds me of Switzerland. I've never been there either, but I've seen pictures. Everywhere I went, every single town was just mountains, and then a small river, and a small little village type town in between it. Every single place I drove there. Luckily, I didn't get any bad weather. I only got good weather, so I had a great time. I went to Seattle. Cool city. Felt like a New York of the East Coast or West Coast. Again, being in a van, you don't really feel happy. In the city, you can kind of feel out of place. So I parked at a park. I played basketball all day. I got dinner. I found a shower. I showered and I spent the day in Seattle. Honestly, a perfect day for me. I did the same thing in New York too at Central Park. I just played basketball all day and showered and stuff. That's all I wanted to do in cities. I had my friend Rob fly in, and we did 3 parks. We did North Cascades, really close to Canada, underrated park. I actually didn't know anything about it until I Googled it like a week before I got there. One of the has majority of the glaciers in the U.S. at this park. Every mountaintop is a glacier. Turquoise blue water everywhere. Very rugged, not very populated, not very well visited, and just had a great time there. Again, perfect campsite too. Then we did Olympic. This was the most important park to me. It was the most special because that's where my parents went for their honeymoon. And as a kid, I always remembered this picture the most of my dad on a black sand beach, and I always thought, well, where is that? It was in Olympic at the lodge. And so we went there in mind. I knew I wanted to recreate this picture. I just didn't know how we were going to do it because I knew the lodge was booked. So we got there. I said, hey, I need a spot at this lodge. And he said, buddy, we book up years in advance. What the hell you're thinking? No. I said, you don't understand. I need to stay at this lodge. And I told him why. I gave him the sad story. I need to recreate this photo. I'm on this huge adventurous road trip. I need this to happen. You have a lot of power right now. And so he said, okay, I have a group campsite like 10 feet away. You can park there. Oh my God. The campsite, guys, was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. You're on the beach, but you're on like a cliff, so you're like 10 feet above, and you have a path down to the beach. We had our own private bathroom. We had our own like portable sink water, and we had the most beautiful view at sunset, guys. Oh my God. I could not have asked for a better campsite. I would have taken this over any campsite I've had in my entire life. We had such a good time here. We'd wake up in the morning. We'd go film on the beach. The trees were behind us, so on sunrise, the sun would come beaming through the trees, and you have these beautiful sun rays just hitting the beach. The water was cold as fuck, only downside, but I still went in because I had to. And I remember the second night we were walking, I was trying to find the exact spot where my dad took the photo. We couldn't find it. I was getting a little bummed. And we were walking, and Rob noticed the rocks on the ground. I said, oh my God, dude, this is the spot. Because it was the same rocks are on the ground. I said, oh my God. So at that moment, all my worries disappeared. And I got to recreate the perfect photo. It was like a good, perfect ending to this perfect trip, guys. I was so happy I got to get it done. After that, we did Mount Rainier. The single most grand view of this trip. When you see it for the first time, you see just how high it is. It's only like 15,000 feet. It's not the tallest mountain, but it's so isolated that it stands out above everything else around you. Did 2 hikes there. Had a great time, guys. Beautiful park. Beautiful views all around you. And then after that, it was just Rob left. It was just me and California. Or I had one more. I had Portland, Oregon. I got to see some old friends from my childhood. Got to see a beautiful city. We got to bike through it, have a good time there. Went to Crater Lake. This blew me away, guys. Crater Lake. Now, there were fire warnings, so I was worried I wasn't going to get a good view. But I got there. It's the deepest lake in the U.S. It's just a huge drop down. I climbed up to the top of a mountain. I looked at it, and clear as day. No smoke in sight. Beautiful view. The most deepest blue water you have ever seen in your life. I was shocked by it. Then I hiked down into the water, and I brought, actually I didn't bring goggles the first time. I hiked down 2 miles, it's 1 mile of just like 1,000-foot gain elevation, so you're going straight down. And I went swimming in the water, and I was like, fuck, I should have brought goggles. So I ran back up a mile of 1,000-foot incline, killed myself doing the process, got the goggles, came back down, jumped in the water, and I was blown away. This is the most blue water I've ever, I'm colorblind, and I could tell it was blue. You jump in the water, straight down, deep blue all the way down. It, almost like an eerie feeling in this water. And you look at the, like when you walk in the water, it's like, it's not like a gradual decline down. It's like 5 feet and then a straight drop all the way down. God, it was so cool to be in that water. It was cold too, not as cold as Olympic. But yeah, guys, if you go to Crater Lake, you have to bring goggles. You have to get in that water to fully appreciate what's happening in there. After that, just all the California parks, guys. I did Redwoods. I got to find the tallest tree in the world in Redwoods. I had to go off trail, like 2-3 miles, up a creek, through the forest, use GPS to find it, and I just found the tallest tree in the world. And I remember being by myself. I was like, how much can you appreciate something by yourself? So I sat there, I had lunch. I just stared at it. I thought, oh, that's neat. And then I just left. And that's when I realized that, you know, happiness is definitely best shared. You definitely need people to share this moment with and this beauty. So Redwoods, it was beautiful. I love seeing tall trees. I had gone to Sequoia before, and I think I still like the Sequoia trees a bit better because they're just more massive, more units. But Redwoods is still beautiful. After that, this will bum me out. I went to Last National Park. It's a volcanic national park. It's one of the least visited ones. It's kind of like a sleeper pick, and I was so excited to finally see it. And there was a wildfire that engulfed most of the park, and it was closed down. And I couldn't go. I was so upset. Then I went to, Yosemite. First time going here. It was in the dry season, so the waterfall wasn't flowing. I was scared I wasn't going to be able to get in the park. A site opened up for one of those glamping spots. I paid way too much money for a glamping spot. It's like a portable tent, basically. But I got a spot. I got into Yosemite Valley. I made the most of it. I did like 18 miles in one day again. I think I connected like 4 different hikes because I wanted to maximize my time. So I saw everything in that place. I didn't get to do Half Dome. I didn't get a permit for it in time. Apparently it's a lot harder to get than I thought. The waterfall wasn't flowing, so that kind of bummed me out. But Yosemite, it's beautiful, guys. That valley reminds me of, it's like a more grand Zion. A huge valley, plenty of things to do. I actually got in the gym. I made friends with one of the managers there, and I got in the gym to work out twice. So that was a big perk for me. And then went to Kings Canyon. Again, the fire canceled that trip. I was bummed by that. So I had to go to Pinnacle National Park. After Pinnacles, at this point in the trip, I was kind of getting bummed out. I was like, oh my god, guys, I've been alone for so long. Get me to, I need a stopping point. So I did Pinnacles. I did Channel Islands National Park. Very cool. It's like a rugged Hawaii, or California, like what it used to be. Very primitive. Not a lot happening there. And then after that, I stopped in Santa Monica with my uncle for a month. Had a great reset there. Got some stability back. After Santa Monica, I left, and it was just a highlight reel, guys. I've done this trip so many times back and forth from the Southwest. So, saw Joshua Tree, saw Saguaro, saw the Grand Canyon, saw Sedona for the first time. Got to go rock climbing for the first time with a stranger. Had such a great time doing that. That was the point of this trip, guys, is the new experiences. So the fact that I got to do that in Sedona, my God, is Sedona beautiful. Grand Canyon, went to the bottom and back up finally. I've been there 3 times before. Something always stopped me. This time I was going to do it no matter what. That kicked my ass. That was like 16 miles, 7 down, like 7 straight up, and the 2 mile back to the parking lot. And then, guys, I was done. I went to El Paso to see a friend. I went to Lubbock to see a friend. And then I finally came back, guys, in the 7-month trip. It came to an end just like that. And honestly, it felt weird being back. I felt like nothing changed. I came back. I started training clients again. I started going to the gym again. And it's like nothing really changed. And I didn't feel any different. My priorities were different. I had less of an urge to go out and socialize with people. I feel like I only cared about seeing my family and my close friends. But other than that, guys, I feel like the same person. I feel like I haven't changed at all from this trip. I am so grateful for it. I get to see the country. I can confidently say I've seen the U.S. now. I feel like a more knowledgeable person because of it. I'm happy I got for this opportunity. The van's parked outside my house now. It's like our guest house now. In May or June, I'll probably take off for a month trip to hit those 4 parks I had to miss. And then, guys, eventually, I'm going to take on Alaska. But that was the entire trip, guys. May 1st until like midway through November. I just had a great time. I saw the world. I met so many interesting people. I made a lot of memories. I feel like I sorted my thoughts out a lot. That was like the first month. And I'm just happy to be back now and have some stability in my life. But I love van life. I love living with minimal things. Living in a van didn't bother me at all. I got by just fine. And I cannot wait to do it again. So if you guys have any questions about my experience, about where I went, what I did, what I would do differently, what route I did, don't hesitate to reach out. I will let you know where I went wrong and how I went wrong and how I do it better. But that was it, guys. That was my 7-month van life experience, and I can't wait to get out there and take some more trips in it.